It is so good to be able to speak with you, Col.
Yeah, lovely to speak to you too, Fiona, and I'm certainly very happy that how well your organisation is going and spreading the word all around Australia.
Thank you. Yes, it's early days yet, but we'll get there. We will just keep growing from here. Gee, Col, you've been calling the races for a long time now, so you would have seen a lot of races and picnic races, I suppose. So how was the Bedgerabong picnics last Saturday?
Yeah, as you said, I've been calling the races since 1970, so I've been around a lot of races, and I call the TAB meetings. That's at the big inland cities, and right through to the picnics, which are often held on a variety of tracks, and usually a lot of places. There's very few people live there, and called Bedgerabong races last Saturday, and that's a village of 50 people, Fiona.
50 people, and how many got to the races?
Well, first of all, I better let people know, seeing you've got such a wide audience, where it is.
Yes.
Forbes is in central west New South Wales, a town of about 10,000 people on the Lachlan River in New South Wales. And Bedgerabong is a village of, as I said, 50 people. And it's about 38 kilometres west of Forbes, but a marvellous community. With the COVID restrictions that have come in, Bedgerabong and Condobolin, which is a town further west from Bedgerabong, they were the last two picnic meetings held in New South Wales by picnic race clubs before the COVID really broke out in March last year. So all the other picnic meetings in New South Wales were cancelled, and this was the first one back. So Bedgerabong was a bit of a guinea pig meeting, and there were a lot of restrictions placed, and the police after the meeting said that everything had been adhered to beautifully, and they were allowed to have 1,850 people after a consultation with the club and in the lead-up, and they said they thought the club could handle that amount of people. And Fiona, it had to be a ticketed event because of the COVID. And 2 weeks before the meeting, the whole 1,850 tickets were sold out 2 weeks before the race meeting.
Oh, wow, that's very gratifying. So how many months in the preparation was it then?
Yes, well, Bedgerabong, everyone pitches in around there. There's truck drivers and shearers and farmers and people who live in the village and go to work maybe in Forbes and surrounding areas. And they start about November, starting getting this track ready. Now, Fiona, a lot of picnic race meetings around Australia held on dirt tracks. This is a beautiful turf track. It's beside the Lachlan River and it's fully irrigated, and it is a really magnificent setting. It's one of the prettiest race courses you find anywhere in Australia, actually, Bedgerabong.
So the day itself then, what time did you get there and how was it?
I got there about an hour and a half before, and they were already gathering there. There were horses that had been nominated from a wide area. There were horses there from Canberra. There were horses from places like Dubbo. Some of these trainers had travelled 3, 4, 5 hours to get to Bedgerabong, and there were already a pretty good gathering there. I was there about, as I said, about an hour and a half before the races, and walked on this track. It's like an oasis, beautiful big river, red gums, and magnificent setting, and acres of lawn, and people are just spread out and obeying all the things. And Bedgerabong's the only club I know that's got its own club colours. All the little buildings, the secretary's office and all the other buildings are painted white with red roofs and red trim. And they've even got their own flag fluttering above in the breeze, and it's got BPRC, Bedgerabong Picnic Race Club, in red and white fluttering above the secretary's office. So it's quite spectacular.
Oh, that's fabulous. And of course, we've had some good rain, so the country would be looking good out there this year as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Bedgerabong's an irrigation area. Most of the farms around there reasonably small farms, 300-400 acres. But of course, they've had no water to irrigate with through that massive drought. But things are really looking good again now. And you've only got to go about 10, 15 k's out of 10 k's out of Bedgerabong or so, and you're out in the drier country where you've got your properties of a couple of thousand acres and wheat growing areas and sheep and cattle, but there's a lot of loose and cut around Bedgerabong and fat lambs raised, etc., etc. So it looked beautiful down there the other day. But even right through the drought, when they held race meetings, Bedgerabong always looked pretty spectacular as far as the lawns and gardens.
Oh, how fabulous! How was the track on Saturday?
Yeah, well, I was down there the evening before the races. I went down and put the horses' names up in their stall because I've got a bit of an understanding which trainers like being next to which trainer. And so I put all the horses' names up in the stall the night before, and it was absolutely belting down rain. And there was a lot of concerns, and it started running again at 3 o'clock in the morning. at all the surrounding towns, and also Bedgerabong racetrack. And the next morning there were quite a few dousing, and the sun came out. Turned out a beautiful day. And in racing terms, it was what is rated a soft 7. Tracks are rated from a rating of 1, which means it's nearly like concrete, right up to 10, which is heavy where they're bogging up their hocks. But Bedgerabong was a soft 7, which is pretty nice going for the horses.
Yeah, that would be kinder on their legs. Does that favour particular sorts of horses, that track?
Yeah, it's a good wet weather track. That was always the hope, even with the rain, that it soaks the rain up pretty well, Bedgerabong, and they had plenty of grass coverage on it. So it was all the jockeys told me later on that it was really good to ride on.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So how many races were there?
There were 6 races, and there were 9 or 10 in most of the races, and the Cup itself was won by a horse called Song One, trained by Brian Dixon. He trains at Gilgandra, mainly takes his horses to all the TAB meetings around, and this horse had run at a couple of big tab meetings the previous starts. It ran third in the Mudgee Cup, which is about a $70,000 race compared to the $9,000 Picnic Cup at Bedgerabong, so it came in there with pretty good credentials, and it was ridden by a boy who will never forget the day, William Stanley, or better known as Will Stanley, 17 years of age, and he was having his very first ride at the meeting. He won the first race on a horse called Dot the Eye. He came out and then won the Cup. What a day for a 17-year-old boy having his first race rides.
Oh, yeah, so he'll be a jockey for the rest of his career then, won't he?
And he also got to meet the Deputy Prime Minister, because the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia, Michael McCormack, was at the meeting, and he presented the Cup to the winning trainer and the winning jockey. And the winning trainer told Michael McCormack, which Michael McCormack repeated to the crowd. He said, Brian Dixon just told me, he said he bought this horse for $700, and you hear all of these horses bring $1 million at the yearling sales nowadays. He said, this horse was bought for $700, and he said, I gave it to my 2 little grandkids. He said, and since I bought it, it's won $70,000 prize money for the grandkids, so that was a nice little touch.
Oh, wow, that's amazing, isn't it? That's incredible. So what will happen to the horse now? What sort of races will it take part in now?
It's going to go, I think it'll be in the Bedgerabong Picnic Cup, which is on this Saturday, the 20th, and it'll probably then go back to the bigger tab meetings. But it didn't even start favourite the other day. It was a very good field in the Bedgerabong Cup. It started about third favourite, but young Will Stanley rode a beautiful race, and Hammett came and won by a couple of lengths.
Oh, that's fabulous! And everybody got through safely. I like to know, were there any incidents at all, or did all horses and people get through safe and well?
Yeah, everything was fine on the day, and one thing that really did strike me, I actually tipped the Deputy Prime Minister, Michael McCormack. I tipped him a loser in the Cup, so I don't think he's going to make me the Minister for Finance. But and a lot of people wouldn't be aware of this either. As soon as I saw Michael McCormack walking around the crowd with his wife, I realised straight away, I said, that's the fellow who used to write the racing reports in a magazine called New South Wales Country Racing, which was produced back in the 1980s, and I've got copies at home, and I went home and had a look up, and there, about 33 years ago, was a photo of Michael McCormack presenting the Southern Districts report of all the meetings that were being held over the month. So I reminded him about that on the day, and I said, I wrote the Central West reports, and I said, I'm still a humble race caller, and I said, you're the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia.
Fancy that.
Yeah.
Gee whiz. Oh, so you would have had a great conversation. So, well, good. It's good to see the Deputy Prime Minister out there and going back to his roots a bit, isn't it? And going to the picnics.
And one thing that really struck me was the fact that I said to quite a few people, I said, in a lot of countries, if you had a Deputy Prime Minister or a Deputy President at a function like that, they would have arrived in an armoured vehicle, bulletproof vehicle, and probably had about 10 security guards following them around all day. But maybe Michael McCormack had someone there just keeping an eye on things, but it was kept well away, and his wife just basically stood around in the crowd and went and had a couple of bets and had a drink and weren't pestered by anyone. And I think just had a lovely day, and it wasn't a big fuss made. And when he made his speech, there wasn't a big fuss made about it. And I think he just had a wonderful day, and it just showed that what a great country we live in Australia, where we can get the Deputy Prime Minister out there and just walk around, not being pestered by people, and just having a great day.
Oh, that's fabulous. Oh, it sounds as though it was a really great meet then to sort of start off the season or be one of the early ones to start the races again after the COVID interruptions.
Yeah, it certainly was, Fiona. I call about 100 race meetings a year, and I suppose about 70 of those are on, on Sky Channel and on racing radio and all that sort of type of thing. But I must admit that there is one race meeting I really, really look forward to each year, and that is the Bedgerabong Picnics, which doesn't get covered by the TAB, doesn't go over the airwaves, but just a marvellous day.
Gee. Oh, well, thanks so much for talking to us about it, Cole. That was great to hear. Thank you.
It's lovely, and I just wish you all the very best with your new venture.
Thank you. I'll hope to talk to you again.
Good. Thanks, Fiona.
Bye.
Bye.